Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
We're wondering if you're feeling the same way. We're in the throes of the holiday season, and so many of us are just feeling tired, like just fatigued, just beat up, like just leave me alone. I want to sleep more kind of feeling. I was kind of feeling it. And then Tammie mentioned it. She is with Oyate Herbals. She's a master herbalist, and she's back with us. Why are we feeling tired? What's going on, Tammie?
Well, I mean, it's a normal time of year. I mean, everybody's traveling, everybody's trying to, you've got your shopping, you've got all the stuff. I mean, we're go, 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 go. And that's normal. I mean, we're feeling fatigue. Well, and the stressors that happen, of course, increases that cortisol levels. So that causes more stress. And, so we get that cortisol going in our body. That's a normal response. I mean, that's the stress comes in. So the cortisol levels come in, we deplete and work those adrenal glands, and we start dumping out. So, and especially, I mean, and we're not eating right now because we've got all of the, spirits coming in. Everybody's has a drink, or we're eating all the sugar and all the stuff. I mean, anybody who decided they were going to eat turkey for dinner, I mean, a lot of people have turkey, also for, besides Thanksgiving, they do turkey for Christmas as well. It has natural tryptophan in it.
Sure.
Yeah. So, so you everybody crashes afterwards. So those are the normal, everyday stuff that we're experiencing, but for the ones of us that, have a little bit more stressors, things that are going on in your life that is not your everyday, oh my God, I'm just tired. There is so many other factors that play into that. So
yeah. Now that you're saying all of this, it's coming clearer in that, we had so much going on, and now, the dust has settled. So is the wrapping paper, and it just, plus what happens when you're tired? You tend to eat more, usually garbage. You crave carbs, and now you're even more in the, the quicksand, sleepy quicksand kind of feeling for you. But then there are some that have chronic fatigue, like just deal with always being tired, whatever the reason is. What's your advice? I mean, you prepare all these different concoctions. I'm a believer in many of them. And by the way, side note, I'm going to press the pause button on the fatigue thing. You gave me a salve for, I said I have minor skin cancer popping up. I've been dealing with it for years. And there's some areas that, that could turn into something there. It's a little dry, a little flaky. I've been using it. And I was thinking about this morning, that the areas that were, kind of dry and just seemed like they could turn into something have now kind of faded away. And this is over a period of, I don't know, maybe a month or so, somewhere around there. So I think it's working. I got to tell you, like, there was some areas, this could be one here. And, it takes time, obviously, but it seems to be a lot less than it was.
Right. And that's ideally when we had discussed, that's what I wanted to happen, so you don't have that crusty stuff. The nice thing is also the, because I Course Custom did a little bit extra for you in that one. It's also a preventative. So that way, it's not going to come back. We don't want it to come back. We want your body to do that naturally and, help prevent that the issue that was going on to begin with. So and that's ideally is what we want to do. So I'm glad to hear that it's working. That's awesome. It's
interesting. And you gave me a tincture as well. That's very recent, so I haven't really hit that as hard as I should and need to, so got to circle back to that more. But what's interesting too is even the salve moisture properties. It's like just a great, even for your face, just, so it just seems more hydrated, right?
Yeah, and it does, but it's not a greasy type of a salve. That's what a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like salves because it's greasy and it won't rub in. That is not the case with mine, because I don't like that either. A lot of people are, they just throw stuff out on the market and they don't test it themselves. They don't really try it. And they're like, oh yeah, well, we're going to throw all of these herbs in and we're going to put it out there and we're put it on the shelf and yay, because it's got this in there. Okay, well, is it going to absorb right? Is it going to be nice and smooth? Because I don't want something either that's going to go on and, like you really got to dig it out and things. I want something that's going to be nice and smooth. That's going to go on easy, especially the healing salve, because you're usually putting it on something that's going to be sensitive. So if you're having to push harder on that, especially if like for a little kid or something, they got an owie. They don't want you rubbing hard on that. So, those are the things that I take into consideration when I have developed these products over the years. That, not only is it going to work, but is it user friendly? Is it something that is going to fit your lifestyle? So yeah, those are a lot of the factors that go into my products.
And I have to tell you, I have somebody gave me a salve about a year ago. That's got CBD in it. It's a healing something.
Right.
You can't even get the stuff out. It's so just dense that, and let alone to put it on something. There's a difference. Yours is
absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, I don't even know the description. It's like somewhat creamy, but not. And you put it on, maybe a couple of minutes later, it kind of goes in and it just, moisturizes and heals. So, let's go to chronic fatigue. People are dealing with that. Yes. What would you suggest? What do you make for that?
Well, there's a couple of different things. I mean, one, fatigue can be just normal and you can roll into, like I said, the cortisol levels. And then, your chronic fatigue goes into adrenal overload. And that can come from many different factors. That can come from stress. That can come from depression. That can come from underlying medical issues that you don't know that's going on, possibly diabetes, blood sugar issues, possibly maybe heart issues. There's can be underlying medical factors that a lot of people don't know what's going on. So fatigue is one of those little signs that I like to tell everybody, it's kind of a little bit of a red flag. Pay attention to it. If it keeps happening, ideally we're stressed, everything goes on like to the holidays and everything. Once all that adrenaline stops and the cortisol levels maintain like they're supposed to, then you should come back to a normal state and be, calm and everything, and you go back. But if you're finding that you're constantly being triggered, all the stressors, depression, things like this, if you keep getting triggered, you could possibly be in a chronic fatigue area because the adrenals are constantly being pumped. It's like you're triggered, then it reduces that or secretes the the dopamines and the cortisols and all of that. So some of the signs that I tell people to look for is possibly all of a sudden weight gain. Higher cortisol levels can cause weight gain. The cravings of carbs and sugars, those are another one that, all of a sudden, if you're like, oh my God, I'm just stressed out, I'm going to go eat a gallon of ice cream. Those are things that are, if you're craving those kind of things, those are just the minor things that you can kind of notice. I do make a tincture called Fatigue Fighter. And that's kind of more for people that are dealing with the normal fatigue moving into kind of a chronic fatigue syndrome. It has some like Korean red ginseng, but it also has ashwagandha, rhodiola, guarana, things that's going to help stimulate the adrenal glands in a good way, because once you've gotten to the point of major chronic fatigue and the adrenals, your cortisol levels dump out. Then you go the opposite direction where you have no cortisol, you have no adrenaline, and then you are just it's because your body can't produce it anymore. So you have to be able to use those adaptogen herbs like the ashwagandha and the rhodiola. Another good one is reishi mushrooms. That's another adaptogen, and it also helps actually heal some of the adrenal glands, because once you've damaged it, then you really are fighting against it. And Yeah. And then you're in that constant, you're constantly in that fight or flight. And that's what your body does. You're like, okay, I'm triggered, I'm stressed. Now you're gonna do the fight or flight. Either your body's gonna respond one way or the other. And then you are in that constant loop and it never ends. And then you have severe anxiety, depression, you run into all of those really, really bad things. Then that also causes even more medical issues, because if your body's not functioning right, you've disrupted the endocannabinoid system. We've talked about all of that before in the past, and then any of those, too much cortisol can cause all those types of issues. So that's just kind of a base. I mean, there's so many other factors that happen, but oh my God, we don't have enough time to go into all those details on what happens to the body. Yeah, the heart system, the blood pressure, your sugar levels. I mean, and that's where diabetes, high blood pressure, all of those things comes into factor. It really does have a huge play on stress, fatigue, that cortisol hormone, the adrenals. A lot of that is the major kind of underlying factor that kind of be a trigger for all this other stuff that can come into play.
Wow. And can that begin? Could it start with some stress from the holidays and then just kind of nosedive?
It can. I mean, I know people that we've actually traced some of their triggers all the way back to some childhood traumas that they didn't even realize it was going on. And they have, they do really good, but then they get into a trigger that makes that stress levels and triggers that old trauma, and then boom, they're right back into the same cycle, and then they're just spinning and spinning and spinning. I talk about it being into a washing machine. You're back in the spin cycle again. How do you figure out, when I do a lot of my life coaching stuff with people, get out of the spin cycle, get out of that, take what you need to do, take that break that cycle.
Wow. Yeah. I can see it engulfing your life. Yes. Once you get into it and you're dealing with that stress, that you can't catch a breath.
No,
because you're not equipped with what you need, the cortisol, all of that. You don't have what you need. So now it's just like rinse and repeat. Here's another day. Here's another day or it's more like, here's another day. Oh God, I'm just getting by here. Oh, I just can't wait to go back to sleep.
Yeah. And the holidays is one of the major triggers. People are reminded of the loved ones that were not with them, the things that happen. There's so many different estranged families, and the holidays are always such a huge trigger for people. I was probably on the phone, I'd say maybe 5 times up to Christmas Eve with different people that were, calling me saying, hey, Tam, I got a family member that is, could possibly be in crisis because of this. What can we do? And I, send them out stuff. I'd give the recommendations, because each one of these were individual. So, I'm not going to speak specifics right now. But yeah, it is this time of year is really, really, really stressful for a lot of people. And it does, that fatigue just hits, and that's one telltale sign that you need to pay attention to. Normal fatigue is normal fatigue. I mean, that's just, we're going to get fatigued, but there are things that we can do to at least stop that so it doesn't go into a serious situation. And it doesn't take long to get into that chronic fatigue and that adrenal overloads and all of these things. It does not, I mean, a few months and boom, you're in that spin cycle and you ain't coming out until you figure out what's happening to you.
Which, easier said than done for all of us, so what you make, you say ashwagandha. I've heard of it. It's in many different forms. What exactly is it, and what does it do?
So ashwagandha falls into the category of what we call adaptogenic herbs. Rhodiola is another one. Ashwagandha realistically, well, any adaptogenic herb. So let me just back that truck up, because ashwagandha, rhodelia, reishi, there's a lot of them that those are just three that sometimes I will recommend. What adaptogenic herbs do is help your body adapt to the stressors in your life, to your environment. So they're very, very unique and individual to each person. It helps it helps balance those synapses of the brain. It helps adapt and level out those cortisol levels, the adrenals, and things like that as an individual. So sometimes these herbs work really, really quickly with somebody because you're not that out of balance. Other people, you have to take them for a little bit more extended time because your body is a little bit more out of whack. I think that's probably the best way I can explain it in layman's terms. I mean, and they have other, ashwagandha does have other amazing properties to it, but that's its main one, and that's what I use it for. It also can help you absorb other herbs better, helps your body adapt to that herbal combination. That's why I like adding it to things. Adding those adaptogen herbs with what you're working with already really helps that body not only, adapt to what we're trying to do. So
with that, would you also take, like, for example, I have here your organic stress and anxiety relief tincture. Would you take that, what you're describing for the fatigue, but could you, or would you also take this? Because if you're fatigued, you're probably stressed out, that you don't have the drive that you did, you're feeling just kind of, low. Would you take those as well?
You can. So you have ashwagandha in the stress and anxiety relief. That is ashwagandha and kava combination. That's the reason why I do them together. So it helps that kava. Kava is, I call it the herbal equivalent to a Xanax. So it really brings you down. It helps that just.
So got a question. So if you're already down, I am so tired, are you going to take that and even go lower in terms of just?
Well, the way it works is, so if you're down, are you down because your stress levels are so bad? Are you down? I mean, usually stress is more, stress causes more anxiety than it does. So that's why most people are not going to be coming to me and going, oh, I'm down. That's more depression. And I recommend other herbs for that. So that's more for anxiety, which brings people up. Anxious people are anxious, they're fidgety, they're this, they're that. They're not normally down. Normally they can't sleep. They can't deal with things. So so if somebody's coming to me and going, oh, I'm just so tired and my life sucks and I can't get myself to motivate and I can't do this, that I'm looking at more, okay, now we've got cortisol levels having issues. It's causing problems with the fatigue, and we got some probably depression going on. So I'm going to more talk on the level of what I call kanna bark. Kanna bark is actually a bark from Africa that they chew, and it brings on the euphoria, and it actually helps the brain stop spinning. So that way, because when your brain's spinning all the time, that's not more anxiety. That's actually a lot of depression sometimes to help that focus. And then because they can't, and they're so tired. So I combine the kanna bark with the ashwagandha. So I go that route. But I will recommend that with the fatigue fighter, because that also is going to help give them some energy. So I would recommend those two combinations. I normally don't do the stress and anxiety with the fatigue fighter unless the person is taking and they're stressed out and they're fatigued and no energy during the day. Okay, so let's do the fatigue fighter during the day. I also recommend, I've got a sublingual B vitamin spray that is it's a hydroxyl B versus a methylated B, so the body absorbs it properly. You actually absorb all the B vitamins instead of you just absorbing some and peeing the rest out. So that is another factor that also helps with the cortisol levels and the things like that. B vitamins are huge. That's one of the biggest things that also cause fatigue is a B vitamin deficiency in the body.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
Mhm.
often can you take this stuff? I've wondered about that. Now I've got your tinctures. I wonder,
Yeah,
can you overdo it? 3 times a day? Is that okay? Things,
it is.
and with others. I've
Yeah.
asked that before, but
Yeah.
how do you know what's okay to take with something else, or you really can't do any harm? I don't know.
Right. Well, if you're working with me directly, of course, you've heard my answering your questions of the different things that we've done. And I've told you, yeah, you can take this, with this. So the stress and anxiety is designed to help you. You use it for a little while, and then in theory, we should be able to balance everything out. And then you just need it for a breakthrough. So that way, if you're really just having a stressful day, you can take it and it just chills you out and you're good. So it's not one that I usually say, oh yeah, let's stay on this. I'm in theory not wanting anybody to stay on any of these herbs for a long extended period of time. I mean, less is more, and moderation is always a good thing. Ideally we want your body to be able to restore that homeostasis so that way it does what it needs to do naturally. And that's what we want to do. As herbalists, we don't treat the symptoms, we look at the cause, and then we work for the cause so that way we don't have the symptoms to deal with. So
Right.
yeah. Yeah. So
Every situation, I guess, is unique. Like you know
yeah.
what you formulated what I'm taking, so you know what's there.
Yeah.
However, somebody else might be different. And is there situations where you might say, yeah, you don't want to take those at the same time?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I have a lot of people. I don't recommend. I do have some people that have severe PTSD, and they are in a chronic stress syndrome all the time.
Mm.
So I actually have them sometimes using the common focus for the depression on a regular basis, and with the stress and anxiety just for those anxiety attacks. So I don't
Okay.
want them doing them together. I want them to stay on the Canabark and the ashwagandha. So they're getting the ashwagandha both times, which that's what I want. I want that ashwagandha in there. I want that working as the adaptogenic, trying to rebalance those things. And then the Canabark is going to start working on that depression, helping them focus, helping them to deal with life better. And then when they have that, oh my gosh, here comes the stress in and that level, and they start panicking, they have the stress and anxiety as a go-to for that, as a
Gotcha.
breakthrough. So that is a recommendation. Hopefully that kind of explains a
Yeah.
little bit,
Some
yeah.
some of it, what I'm getting is some of it is on a regular basis, but then there's some things you might take as needed.
Yes, absolutely. Like some of the stuff that you're doing, you can pretty much merge all of yours. Because you had gotten the Sacred Seven to help also with the internal part of your skin issues and things like that. Well, all of those, even with the immune boost that you just got, those complement each other amazingly.
Oh,
So, yeah. So you don't have to worry about any of that. Those are good. Those your go-to. It's like, oh yeah, you can take those and they just complement each other.
I like the this bottle I've had for quite some time, and
Yeah.
there's some left, decent amount left in there, maybe a quarter.
Yeah.
Um, I hardly use this. It's only when needed. And
Yeah.
having one of those days, I'm going for the stress release.
Yeah.
Is this the one you said the title once, and I can't remember which one it is. Bitch Be Gone.
No, that's the spray, the Walk and Balance spray. Yeah, yeah. That's the
Ah,
Demon Be Gone spray. Yes.
oh, so I have stress relief aromatherapy spray.
Yes, and that is the one that one works very well for people with like ADD, ADHD. It helps calm and helps you focus into things, and it just brings things down. So yeah, those two I recommend using together.
Yeah,
When you're really, yeah, give you a little spray, take some tincture, and you just go, oh, that whole anger management goose fraba.
yeah.
It
The
just,
spray is fantastic. I mean, it's all fantastic, but right
yeah.
away when that gets shot into the air, I'm like, yeah, things are okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it has 3 different essential oils in it, and the oils are bergamot, langalang, and vetiver, Well, vetiver helps your brain focus. I use it with a lot of kids in school that have the ADD, ADHD. It helps calm that brain a little bit in a very gentle way. The bergamot helps stimulate the thinking processes. So anything citrus, so it calms you down, it helps you focus a little bit better. So, yeah.
All right. So how do we do this? I know that you're available, and this is, I truly believe one of the best parts in feeling better. You're available. You listen. What somebody describes to you, then it's, go into I call it the laboratory, and you mix up what you need to mix up for somebody based on all of your training, based on your heritage and all of that. Just go to the website. It just starts there.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, go to the website, read our stories. There is previous podcasts on there of mine and your talks.
Sure.
Some of, with Ross and Jill. I mean, I've been doing podcasts with you guys for, a very long time now. So yeah, there's a lot of education on the website. My story is on the website. There are tried and true formulas that you can pick from on the website. So
Sure.
Everything's there, all that, and if you don't want a tincture, I am partnered up with other Indigenous family owned and operated companies Rod Jackson with Oyate Herbals, the man, I bow down to his teas. He is amazing at what he does. He's got 19 medicinal teas, that are all geared towards different things. So, you can get teas, you can get the tinctures, you can get the lotions, the soaps, the sprays, you name it, CBDs, dog treats. I've got stuff that is going to fit your needs in any facet that you want to take it in, and if you're not sure, my contact information is there. I am a text message, a phone call, and email away. So reach out. If you're not sure, call me. I can do a credit card over the phone, or I can tell you, go back to the website. This is what you want. The information is out there. Go to the website, oyateherbals.com. It's OYATEHERBALS.com.
I talk about you in my circles at least 3 times a week. I'm not even kidding. To the point where you have my credit card on file now. So
Yeah, I do.
like normally companies don't, for security reasons, you got to send it each time. I'm like, you got to just send me stuff. Tammie,
Right.
always great having you on, and appreciate you and what you do, and looking forward next time we talk.
All right. Well, you have a beautiful day, and thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you. Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, same to you. You guys enjoy the holiday, the rest of the holiday season, and yeah, take your stuff. Keep me posted.
I have to set a reminder on my phone because I do forget. So thank you for the reminder to set the reminder, and we'll talk soon. Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.